13.6 Minimizing the Wildfire Hazard. The main task is to decide when fires should be allowed and when suppressed. As we've discussed, wildfires are beneficial, but they also cause a lot of damage. Scientific understanding is critical to fire management, in particular, determining the fire regime for an ecosystem. The fire regime includes types of fuel available, fire behavior such as size, intensity, amount of biomass removed, and fire history of an area, including natural frequency, i.e. recurrence intervals. The map below is of the Santa Monica, California area and shows wildland fire frequency from 1925 to 2007. The lightest yellow color are areas that have had only one fire, and the darkest maroon are areas that have had 12 fires in the given time period. Here is the same map, but a bit bigger, so perhaps you can see it better. What do you notice about the wildland fire frequency in this area based on this map? What I see is that anywhere there is not city, it looks like it has been burned at least once from 1925 to 2007, indicating that this area naturally has wildfires. Do you see something else insightful? If you'd like, email it to me. Another way to minimize the wildfire hazard is through education. Many wildfires are started each season by people that were ignorant about the wildfire risk. In addition, even more people incur damage from wildfires due to poor building location choices, as well as poor landscaping choices. The image below is of Smokey Bear and a sign indicating fire risk. I'm pretty sure we all have heard of Smokey Bear and seen similar signs as we drive through national forests. It's been a very effective education campaign. Is this enough education about the wildfire hazard? Is there more to know? How might the public be educated? If you'd like to share your ideas, email me. Minimizing the wildfire hazard also involves data collection. Part of the data collection is mapping vegetation and potential fuel. The United States Geological Survey, USGS, and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, produce biweekly satellite maps of plant growth and vigor, vegetation cover, and biomass production, as well as moisture content. From this data, FPI or Fire Potential Index maps are produced daily based on total amount of burnable plant material, fuel load, water content of dead vegetation, and percentage of fuel load that is living vegetation. The map is a Fire Potential Index map for the contiguous United States for July 20th through 27th, 2000. The colors range from dark green, indicating low danger, to red, indicating high danger of the wildfire hazard. Does this map remind you of any previous maps? To me, it looks very familiar to the map we looked at when we discussed geographic regions at risk from wildfires. Again, much of the West is in warm red colors, indicating medium to high danger of wildfires, while the Plains states, the Midwest, and the East are generally at a much lower danger level from the wildfire hazard. Prescribed burns are one way to minimize the wildfire hazard. They are controlled burns to manage forests by reducing fuel for more catastrophic fires. When doing a prescribed burn, it is absolutely necessary to predict the behavior of the fire and control it, which includes being 100% certain of weather conditions, which is impossible. So there is always some risk that a prescribed burn will get out of control. An example of a prescribed burn gone bad in the Belvedere National Monument, New Mexico, 2000. Prescribed burn. The burn got out of control when winds got in the way and ended up destroying 280 homes, and Los Alamos evacuated. As a result of the 1995 Federal Fire Management Plan, it was revised and updated. In 2003, Healthy Forest Restoration Act allows the thinning of trees on federal land. What do you think? Are prescribed burns and tree thinning helpful or not in protecting communities? Again, email me with your thoughts if you'd like. The picture is of Los Alamos and the out-of-control prescribed burn in 2000. In some large natural areas, there is a let it burn policy, where we don't try to put out wildfires that are naturally started and quite distant from structures and human population centers, and not a threat to species that are at risk, and not too early in the season. Is the let it burn policy good? What are the pros and cons? To get us thinking, let's consider the Yellowstone fires of 1988. Just a few years earlier, in 1976, they instated a policy for Yellowstone National Park of allowing natural burns in all wilderness areas. In the summer of 1988, lightning strikes ignited 50 fires in the park. At first, they just let them burn. Due to political pressure, in July, fire crews were deployed. But fires were beyond control. It wasn't until September rains slowed fires and November snow extinguished the fires that the park was again fire-free. The cost was $120 million to fight the fires. Yellowstone still has a natural burn policy, and the fires were beneficial to environment around Yellowstone. The pictures are of the general store in Yellowstone with the fire in the background and a burned area a few years after the fire. Is the let it burn policy good? There is not a right or wrong answer, just your opinion. Again, if you'd like to share, please email me. 13.7 Perception of and adjustment to the wildfire hazard. People do not adequately perceive risk of wildfires, particularly in areas where population and development are increasing rapidly in the West, where the wildfire hazard is so prevalent. These areas include California, Idaho, Colorado, etc. It's crazy to see development on brush-covered hill slopes and the huge demand for hill property in the wildland-urban interface, where people and structures are particularly prone to the wildfire hazard. The image shows a home in this wildland-urban interface that is being destroyed by fire. I'm sure it was a lovely location before the flames. Fire insurance may give people a false sense of security. How do we adjust to the wildfire hazard and mitigate the effects as a nation, as a community, and personally? Some ideas include fire danger alerts and warnings, such as red flag warnings when the wildfire hazard is particularly severe during the next 24 hours. Fire education increases community awareness, but it's very hard to get the scope of the hazard across. Often people come away thinking that all they need to do is put out their campfires really well and the world will be safe from wildfires. Though that's partially true, the other part includes the large out-of-control fires, whether human instigated or naturally started, that burn hundreds of thousands of acres, produce their own weather systems, and burn everything in their path, making the air obnoxious and even dangerous to breathe. These fires burn where they can, and we can't stop them. Evacuation is the only option in the face of large fires. As a community, we can enforce sensible building and development, especially in the wildland-urban interface. For example, no mansions at the top of chutes, no matter how good the view is. No building straw houses. Build with fire-resistant materials for the walls and roof. This can be achieved through codes and regulations. Also, fire insurance can help with recovering some losses from a wildfire. Though, as I bet many of you know, insurance is a pain. In this cartoon, we see several ways where the house on the left is more fire-prone than the house on the right. This image comes from a page briefly describing sustainable and fire-safe landscapes in the wildland-urban interface associated with new building standard in California. We see flammable roof versus tile roof that is less flammable. We see long overhangs and open eaves that trap and transfer fire into a home versus short overhangs. We see large windows versus small windows. Open flammable deck versus closed tile deck. Lots of vegetation, including tall grasses, versus less and smaller vegetation. A fire will burn what it can, and it can much more easily burn the home on the left. This image from Fire Safety in Virginia. There are several things you can do, as opposed to a construction crew, to make a home more fire resistant. Things include a long garden hose to wet down your home if threatened by fire. Remove and thin vegetation within 100 feet of structures. Keep your roof and chimney clean and clear of debris. Keep your wood pile and fuel at least 30 feet away from your home. Keep your grass green and mowed at least 100 feet from any structure. Keep driveways accessible for fire trucks. Keep fire tools available, such as a shovel, rake, and ladder. Sounds like a bunch of weekend projects, huh? Some of the same and other personal adjustments to the wildfire hazard are listed in this table, which is also found in your book. Take a moment to read it all. One point I'd like to point out is having fire alarms that work. These can be annoying when there are false alarms, but lifesavers in the advent of a real fire. If you don't have fire alarms, put it on your list of weekend projects, please. And that brings us to the end of the wildfire hazard, a real threat here in the Boise, Meridian, Nampa area. Though there are many excellent natural benefits from wildfires for ecosystems, I still hope that this next fire season has few fires, and that our air remains smoke and soot free. We are at the end of the lecture discussion for the course. Whoopee! Make sure you are making progress on your class project and get that excellent work turned in on time. Also, make sure to prepare for the last exam and final. There are a lot of points riding on your good work here in the last few weeks of the semester. Finish strong. I know you can.